All right, episode 8 of The Wealth Architect. I'm Emilio Despirito. We've got a great guest today. We're going to be diving into the world of property management as well as wealth creation through collecting real estate. And we've got on a top dog here, Greg Rice, Vice President of Nexus Property Management. Nexus is one of the largest property managers here in Southern New England, but also growing nationally with 5 franchise locations throughout the country. So we're going to be talking franchise. We're going to be talking how to build wealth through a real estate portfolio, and also some interesting things on how he actually turned a church into 32 luxury units, a once almost condemned building into 32 luxury units in a neighborhood where you probably wouldn't think that would happen, obtaining highest market rents in the area, changing the game. So we've got Greg Rice, Nexus Property Management. What's up, Greg?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Greg. So, Greg, you're no stranger to podcasts and radios. You've been featured all over the country on several. You've done a lot of talks. You've been at this a while, what, 10 years now?
Yeah.
10 years,
Yep.
yeah. And let's take it back so our listeners can know who you are a little bit, aside from being my best friend as well, and he's local. I'm lucky to have him here. But aside from that, Greg, you started with what, a 4-family?
Yeah, 4-family in 2015.
And how many doors do you own now?
About 150.
About 150. Okay, so 2015 to 2025, 10 years, it's like 15 doors a year,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. I want to unpack that a little bit before we get into everything else, okay? So what advice would you give somebody that's just starting out now doing that house hack? Because you literally house hacked. You lived in the 4-family.
Yeah.
And you turned it into one of the biggest portfolios in the state.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Don't listen to your girlfriend.
Why? What would that sound like? Oh, you're going to really win the ladies over in this audience.
It's true, because my point is you have to know your vision and believe in it. And most times, even your family, your closest friends, your mother, your father, they're not going to get it or believe in it the way that you do. And your spouse or your partner is somebody you see every day.
Yeah.
So they're going to have the biggest impact on you. And thankfully, at that time, I was married and my wife was very supportive
Okay.
of my vision.
Yep.
And I say what I said as a joke, but also to be serious, because if she wasn't supportive, it would have been nearly impossible to do what I did. So they need to be on board or off board. They can't be in the middle.
And it's how many times have you tried something and you're starting a new business, you're starting a new venture, and the people that are most loved around you that really have the most impact on your life, they're telling you negative things like, why don't you go get a real job? Like what? Like a 9 to 5? Let me clock in and clock out, be told what to do, where to be, how to live my life, how to make money, how to spend money. I'm good, So you've gone into investing in real estate, and I want to talk about the franchise and whatnot and property management in a couple minutes, but why did you decide to build such a portfolio? Like, what is your overall goal and what is the motivation behind doing what you do?
Well, my motivation is the 3 Ps, or are the 3 Ps: pride, purpose, and passion. I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by status or power. Most people are motivated by 1, 2, or all 3 of those things. I am not. So I do it to wake up every day the same way you do, to have a purpose and contribute, and to keep your mind spinning, to set an example for your family, for your son.
That's right.
Leave your legacy behind. That's why I do real estate.
That's great. And real estate is probably the best way to accumulate wealth, passive income at that, and a long-term investment strategy. And talk about leverage as well. What is the best way? Do you find that there's a lot of leverage in owning properties? If so, can you give me like 2 or 3 different pointers on how you leverage your properties?
It's all leverage. It's financial leverage. It's political leverage. It's social leverage. You name it. It's just however you want to leverage the properties, even in a criminal way, right? People leverage real estate for criminal purposes too. Like it's wide ranging, and it's up to you how you want to leverage it. I'm leveraging it for my 3 Ps:
Say them again.
pride, purpose, passion.
Pride, purpose, passion. Yeah.
You talk about the church, I'm leveraging that to improve the community, to establish new housing,
Yeah.
to help a distressed neighborhood, to
You,
build inroads with the Catholic Church,
yeah. And
to
that's
do
good.
all
Smart.
types of things. So it's up to you on how you want to leverage real estate, and that's how I look at it.
But also, like, you can leverage the real estate with pulling money out of the real estate, right? Like you can do,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like there's a website, bettermortgage.com. You can go on there and you can take almost like a HELOC type of thing out. And shout out to Matt Bates of Movement Mortgage for telling us about this.
Mm,
And you can take almost like a HELOC, a home line of equity, out of your investment properties, right?
correct.
Now that interest, is that tax free?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tax write off, right?
Oh yeah. You're
Tax write off.
taking your equity out big time.
Your equity coming out is tax free, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not paying taxes on that. So you can take that equity out. And like, what are things you're doing with that equity?
Buying more.
Buying more, right? And now in a time, right? We're in 2025 right now. Maybe when you're listening, it's 2035 because this is timeless, right? But specifically right now, like we're in a marketplace where people are like, oh, that's tough. It's a seller's market. All these excuses, all this BS that they listen to when guys like you are making the deals happen. You're building wealth and long-term stability and security there. How are you finding the deals you're finding?
Relationships. So real estate is all about relationships, especially in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
All right.
Anywhere in the country.
But especially Rhode Island. The way that Rhode Islanders operate is very cliquey.
Yeah.
It's incestual in a way. It's very impenetrable in a lot of ways too. So I found that over
True.
10 years, I've started to see the fruits of those relationship trees. It took 10 years for me to get just an opportunity of a, hey, I got this. Are you interested? And it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that person never said that to me. And that takes time.
Sure does.
And most people don't want to spend that time.
Consistency.
They're all, where's my check? You got my check? I need my check. Like everybody's money, money, money. And yes,
Scarcity mindset.
yeah,
It's
we need
whack.
money. But the relationships are how I've sourced, I would say, probably 3 out of 4 of my
Yeah.
deals.
Agreed. Same.
It's just at this, and it's only, I think, going to increase over
Yeah.
time.
Do you find that the more you build, the more you do, the more you acquire, the more that's coming in from you? Like people are in banks and the players are like, hey, you know what? This is one of only a few people in the marketplace that can handle this kind of transaction. I got 33 units. I got 50 units. Are those type of deals now falling in your plate?
Yeah. And I have banks competing with one another for the business, which I never had that before. Let's be honest. I was competing for the bank's business. And now I have like, all right, I got this offer from this bank, you know, can you match it? Can you do better? And now I'm shopping my offers around, which never happened.
Let's talk about the church conversion. You decided to purchase a church back in, what was it, 2022?
21, I think.
21?
Yeah,
It was
2021.
October of 21, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so October of 21, okay? Can you kind of talk about your vision? Because you were the first guy I know to ever do this. Like, first off, why a church? What was your vision for it, and what did you turn it into?
Yeah, so I was driving by on 2nd Ave, and it said for sale, and then it said church. And I think it was Remax up in Cumberland.
Yeah.
Marge Jacob was the listing.
That was the agent here in Rhode Island.
And Marge Jacob is the direct neighbor of the second rental property that I ever bought in 2016. So at that time, I had a 5-year relationship with Marge. And when I called her, I said, hey, I'm interested in this church. Oh, hey, Greg, how are you? Yeah, we'll get you in there, right? Relationship.
Yeah, because if it was any Joe Schmo, where's your pre-approval?
Yeah.
Where's
Do you have
this?
experience?
Where's
Who's
that? Yeah.
you know, it would have been that whole rigmarole. That would have been a totally different phone call if I didn't have that relationship built. So I got the inn. I looked through the property. I smoked a joint that night, and I said, this is what I can do here. I could build apartments inside the vestibule. Like I could build a structure within a structure. I could do it.
Yeah.
Is what I
I remember
thought.
when you told me that, I was like, wow. I mean, like, I I know, like you're creative, but I was like, this is really something new.
I said I'm gonna build a structure within a structure, and I'm gonna get a bank to finance it. And then I ran into the
Oh,
immediate roadblocks of,
yeah.
you want a what inside of a what?
Yep.
At what kind of property? We're all set. All the big banks, all top 10 in Rhode Island, denied me.
Yep. All right. So you got denied by all the banks. What did you have to do? Where did you get the financing to convert this church into 32 luxury units? Something that hasn't been done. What type of bank did you have to find to do this?
So I reached out to Emily Hennessy, who's the largest property manager in the state,
Okay.
relationships
Yep.
again.
Yeah. Emily's great. Shout out.
And I said, Emily, I'm having trouble. And she goes, oh, you should talk to Peter Dorsey. Peter works at Rhode Island Building. It's some type of like assistant agency that helps people find projects and money.
Fantastic, yep.
It's like
Every
a
state has
it's
something.
like a third party, whatever. So Peter says, oh, you should probably talk to Jocelyn over at Centerville Bank. And I was like, Centerville Bank? I was like,
West
in
Warwick.
West Warwick? They're going to be interested in Woonsocket? No way. And then I went on the road show, and the road show featured the project. And then Centerville
Smart.
had seen me go on the road show at the same time and called and said, we're interested in the deal. We would love to go look at the property. So we went, looked at the property, and they said, we're in, we'll do it.
But at this time, our listeners need to know, all right, you've got shot down from 10 banks, 10, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 shot down. Instead of you like crawling in a corner or, losing your deposit or stopping, you went and you got massive media coverage, which I think is a beautiful play, right? You came on our podcast, our former Despirito team, iHeartRadio.
Yep.
You also went on several other podcasts. You wrote Valley Breeze, which is a local paper, very
The Call.
influential. The Woonsocket Call. You were also featured
PBN.
on newstoday.com, Providence Business News. So you literally saturated the marketplace. You hit the media, riblogger.com.
Yep.
And you literally use the media to get the message out, which I think is brilliant. So by the time you went to Centerville Bank, okay, they were familiar with the story.
Oh, yeah. And they
Okay.
saw me on Channel 12.
And they saw you on the local news station too, on the road show. Before we move on there, okay, I want anybody who's listening, take that advice and run with it. If you're doing a project that has never been seen, you got to stick your neck out there. Greg stuck his neck out. You stuck your neck out there, and you could have fallen right on your face. And that could have been like dunsies for anybody, but you wouldn't take no for an answer. You leveraged the media and kept it going. And I think there's a powerful message in there that I wanted to really highlight.
For sure.
Yeah.
You can't just expect people to believe in it.
No,
You have to make them believe it.
that's right.
You have to prove it.
You have to sell it. Everything is sales. Everything. Even when you get your when you're dating, right?
Yeah.
Sales. Okay, you're selling yourself. When you're going out, getting a job, sales. When you're buying something, sales. When I'm putting offers in for my buyers on properties, it's sales. I'm selling why they're the best, competing towards 5 or 6 other bids.
That's right.
So you got the financing from Centerville Bank, small local bank here. What happened from there?
So from there, we rocked and rolled with the builder and the architect, and they all worked together to formulate a plan, a construction schedule.
Yeah.
And then the draws from the bank happen every month.
Okay.
So as the construction's happening, the draws get sent to the builder. They pay their vendors and subcontractors, and the project ticks along. And it did for 2 years. And we got the certificate of occupancy on the first half in August of last year. And I just got the second CO. We call them a CO, certificate of occupancy, in early May here on the church. Angle and Volkers, Carrie Giroux, has rented about 2/3 of those units
Great. Yep.
between both properties. And my company does leasing.
Yeah.
That's what we do, leasing. But I said, I'm going to hire Angle and Volkers to lease and pay them.
That's the brokerage I own. I never bring it up, but I own the brokerage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay them top dollar because they have the systems, they have the reputation, and they have the energy that I need to attract the type of person that I need here.
High-end market rents.
Yes. luxury rental.
So the area that you bought this church in, would you say it's economically booming or depressed?
It's the most socio-economically challenged neighborhood in Woonsocket.
In northern Rhode Island.
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it that
All
way.
day. Okay. I own a 5-family in that neighborhood.
Yes.
And since you've been doing this, I've been able to boost my rents up. And I'm selling that property doing a 1031 exchange. That's a whole different topic. But when you're bringing in something new to a neighborhood, you're going to probably be hit with resistance. Okay. What type of resistance did you deal with from either the neighbors, from the marketplace, from realtors, from politicians, from who? Like, let's talk about some of that resistance you had to go through, because you're telling the story and it sounds all nice and easy, but let me tell you something. It was literally 4 years of you putting on the boxing gloves, swinging, getting punched in the guts, kicked in the nuts. Talk about some of that resistance and how you got through it.
Well, the financial resistance was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the toughest one. But then from there it was construction resistance. It was, oh, we found this. Oh, we got to do that. Oh, we didn't, this is more. Oh, we didn't order. Oh, this is on back order, right? There was more of that. Got through that over budget. But they kicked in and ate a majority of that.
Wow, that's fantastic.
As
And
they
you're going to
should have.
use them again, I would imagine.
Correct. And I kicked in some
Yeah,
in good faith. I
relationships.
didn't have to, but I did. And that was that
Two-way road.
resistance.
Yeah.
And then after that, I would say there was no more resistance that was of note,
Yeah.
because at this point the machine is
Proven.
spinning so fast and so hard.
Yeah.
I'll get like a neighbor bitching about something, or a tree's hanging over. It's like squash, squash.
And you just take care of
I
it.
just roll over it without even an issue.
Yeah, because you've already gone through the hardest thing.
Correct. And now I've aligned myself with the former mayor, because she's the one who helped get this project off the ground, Lisa Baldelli Hunt. And she's a very polarizing figure in Northern Rhode Island. She was the mayor for about a decade. And many of the current elected officials and government officials in Woonsocket do not like her. So therefore they do not like me. Case in point being the state representative, John Brian, who my property is in his district. He never reached out to me once in 4 years. Okay. And as a representative,
32 housing units being
32 voters for him, at least, right? He never reached out to me once in a neighborhood that hasn't seen a dollar put in since the Works Progress Administration in 1945, when they did
the
sidewalks.
and all that under Roosevelt.
Yeah. He didn't reach out. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, John, I'm Greg, kind of thing. And, I think you should come by the church and check it out. It's in your district. And he goes, yeah, let me know. Pick a date. I give him a date. He gives me a date. Doesn't work. And then I said, how about Monday? And then he never responds, right? 2 weeks go by and I go, hey, it's been 2 weeks. You never responded. At this point, I don't know what else to say other than I feel like you don't want to see the property. You're not interested in building a relationship with me. And I think it has to do with my former relationship with the former mayor. That's an example I'm trying to show you and your viewers, that no matter how good of a project that is, he'll never care about it because I am affiliated with somebody he doesn't like.
You're going to deal with that in any area. And I would say this, Greg. We got people listening all over the world, right, and all over the country. And what you've talked about happens in any marketplace. And real estate is hyper local, right? Like, you are in the trenches with a community of people that find the real estate deals, the people that finance the real estate deals, the people that build those real estate deals, the people that are putting it all together, and then the politicians. And when you're doing development, okay, you're developing something that was never what you're turning it into, development, or you're building houses, building a neighborhood. You're at a whole different level than flipping a house or than building one home. And I would strongly recommend that people understand the dynamics of the politics in town, right? Like, or in the state. And what type of advice can you give them in that area?
My advice would be, you don't have to jump on somebody else's train. A lot of these politicians want you to jump on their train. They don't want resistance. I am my own train. We know that. So I'm not subscribing
You
to
march
any
to your own beat.
exactly. So that's my
The
advice.
most successful people do, Greg.
Yeah, I don't. And if you're gonna give me shit like this guy or any other person, or you're gonna, they raise my taxes
You
700%.
got to fight it. You get the
You know,
best attorneys and you fight it, and they're not going to win.
I've engaged the attorney that the former city council hired to investigate the former mayor. So I've hired that same attorney to represent me to now
He's
investigate
fantastic.
the city on how they came up to my tax assessment, why they're not responding to my open records requests. So you have to be willing to play ball too. And you have to be willing to put your money up for representation to defend yourself.
You may never see that money again.
Never. It's gone.
So you've been purchasing these properties. You are a property manager with Nexus Property Management, and you and Nick over at Nexus, Nick's the owner, you're the vice president, and I believe a partner in the franchise thing, right? Okay. So you guys developed a system in place where you can implement this system in any marketplace across the country for a turnkey wealth creation through business. Can you talk about, number one, where you're located already, where those 5 locations are, and why somebody would want to do that? Why they would want to invest in Nexus?
That's a good question. We're in Rhode Island. We're in Mass. We got 2 offices there.
Yeah.
We're in Connecticut. We're in Arizona.
Yeah.
We used to be in Florida. We closed that office. Why would somebody want to do it is a great question, because it's not sexy. It's not fun, and it's very
Property management.
It's very tortuous and arduous, and it's grueling until you get above the water line, until you reach land, and I've reached land.
Yeah.
But you're swimming out there for a while, hoping to
Without a life vest.
Correct. So why would somebody buy it? Because ultimately you benefit from the passive income the same way that the property owner does, but you don't have to own the property. Passive income from the rents, passive income from the maintenance, and passive income from the leasing. So you're able to slowly build that, and then like I'm doing, a client wants to sell, you got it. A relationship is formed, you got it. So you're kind of hanging out at the barbershop. Why wouldn't you get a haircut?
Great point. So over the 150 units ballpark, what percentage of units do you think came in through those relationships that you've built through running Nexus Property Management?
I think I said earlier, I'd say 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. So 75% of those units. So that's a good point too, is that when you're like in real estate, right? Like I own the brokerage. I don't own the brokerage because I think I'm going to get rich owning an Engel and Volkers. It's the furthest thing from it, owning a real estate brokerage. Any broker's going to tell you that.
They don't know. People think we're just rolling in it.
Yeah, right. So it's like I own it because of the opportunities that present themselves to me as far as the investment end of real estate. It's like a dispenser.
That's right.
You know, all this stuff comes to you as the property management, to me as the owner of the brokerage, and we get first dibs at it, which is absolutely awesome.
That's right. But we earn it.
Yeah, we do earn it, absolutely, and we're transparent with people.
Correct.
You know, so the other thing too, because we could go down that whole road. All right, with Nexus, okay, this isn't like a commercial for Nexus, right? I kind of want to talk about the wealth creation you see through tapping into a franchise versus doing it yourself, and like, why would somebody go with the franchise model versus just building everything on their own?
Well, Damon John from Shark Tank taught me this, what I'm going to say. The 2 most valuable resources in life are time and information. And with the franchise model, we're saving you time and we're giving you information.
So in the wake of ChatGPT and information now no longer, I think, being the most important currency, okay, I think it's application.
Or experience, you could say.
I think it's application. And with a franchise model, the experience, the application, it's already done for you, right? You're not creating a logo. You're not creating the software. You're not creating the systems and the experience, which, by the way, most businesses fall short with the client experience through lack of systems, through lack of process, and through lack of accountability and taking action in the proper steps. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah, and that's where I see that. So if there's somebody that's listening that they, our listeners, Greg, they're always looking at different ways of creating their wealth, bettering themselves. And, there might be something from one episode that they might get, and they might put a puzzle piece together from another episode in this. And that's what we do as entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
right? What would be one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's looking to start their own property management company?
Don't listen to your girlfriend because it's your vision and
Yeah.
you have to understand and know it. And you cannot be influenced or massaged by other people. You
Mm,
can respectfully consider their feedback, but you cannot be hamstrung and controlled by other people. Oh, it's my dad. Oh, it's my wife. Oh, it's my sister. They don't care. They don't know.
they don't know.
They don't know. Like,
Yeah.
just leave, let them orbit you. That's fine. But that's my advice is believe in your truth and do it. Like I'm
Mhm.
doing it. I'm doing it a million miles an hour. And I listen to you. I listen to my girl. I listen to my dad. But sometimes I disagree. Or sometimes it doesn't make sense because it doesn't apply to the data or the vision that I have.
Mm,
You can't be in concert with other people. And even having a partner is extremely difficult.
mhm,
Very difficult.
mhm.
And I don't have any partners. I'm not a partner guy.
I do. You just got to put, you have to understand both roles and stay in your lane. And
It's
and
hard.
the best thing you can do ahead of time is read the book E-Myth Revisited. Fantastic book, and it talks about delegating and really getting a yin to your yang. And I'm lucky. I have that
Yes, you
with
do.
with the real estate
You got an
brokerage.
anomaly.
I have something that is very rare, right? With my business partner, Joe Fazio.
Yep.
Shout out to Joe. He runs all the operations of the brokerage. I run all the sales
Mm-hmm.
and the recruiting, the marketing. He
Mm-hmm.
runs all the back end that I could never be doing.
That's right.
I don't want to even try to do that. So we stay in our lane. And if there is somebody listening that is building a partnership or has a partnership and there's some things that are going on or it's getting tough, recalibrate. Look at what you got going on. Write down your roles, write down the different hats you wear,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Everything down to who cleans the
That's
place.
right.
And then as you build and grow, you start hiring out for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I wanted to leave our listeners with this. You had a franchise location in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't that work?
That gentleman was just in a different phase of his life. He wanted to do vacation rentals. He really wasn't rolling up his sleeves in the way that we
It's a
need.
different model.
Yeah, and he was older. He had retired and sold another business, so he wasn't as hungry as we are in our 30s, right?
Hmm.
And you could be 60 and hungry, but this guy was not. So that lack of hunger
Yeah.
and the vacation model really doesn't fit into our rental model the
Yeah.
same way. But we
Agreed.
tried it, and he understood that that was a risk associated with it, but it just didn't work out, for a variety of those reasons.
In spirit of leaving our listeners with some positive thoughts, over the years you've accomplished quite a bit, Greg. I mean, you run circles around most people. You've accumulated a lot of wealth through properties, through businesses, and you keep growing and you keep doing innovative things. What is a piece of advice that you could leave our listeners to outside of don't listen to your girlfriend? What is the biggest piece of advice that you can leave our listeners to in creating wealth?
Don't drink alcohol, don't do drugs, don't gamble, and don't smoke cigarettes.
Talk about the alcohol thing because you literally told me this a few months ago. I cut alcohol, not for good, but I've been dry. I'm going on three. My girlfriend and I are going on 3 months. We're doing this together. 3 months, no drinking. We're on week number 10. Talk about what you told me about why you stopped drinking alcohol. This is powerful.
I looked at it as all week you build up.
Hmm.
You go to work, you make your sales, you build your relationships, you're at the gym, you're doing all these things, and then on the weekend you drink and you tear it all down.
Hmm.
And then Monday you got to build it back up. And then Friday you tear it all down. And now I just build up every day.
It's all momentum, go up, 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 up,
Yeah.
up. And when you said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I did the math. I was spending roughly 33 days a year hungover.
Yeah,
And I don't drink a lot.
right. Once every other weekend here and there. And that's 33 days.
33 days. I just gained a month of productivity, but it's
Yes.
not that, it's compounding.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Greg, that's some powerful stuff. Greg Rice, Nexus Property Management. Feel free, Google them, Nexus Property Management, and you can hit the contact form and you can reach out to Greg Rice over there with any questions at all about building a portfolio, building and tapping into the Nexus franchise model. It's a powerful thing. It can work anywhere around the country. Pick his brain about any of that. Greg, love having you on as a guest.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Good stuff. We'll be right back here on The Wealth Architect. Hey, a special thank you to our sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, whose Cash to Keys product is disrupting the industry. Sick and tired of finding the perfect home, not having your offer selected? I got to tell you, it happens all the time. With Cash to Keys, Annie Mac gives sellers a cash guarantee for each of their buyers' offers. Stop bidding and hoping. Instead, bid with Annie Mac and bid with confidence. Don't just bid, but win. Annie Mac Mortgage. Do you live in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, and you're thinking about moving? Well, the worst thing you can do is ask your friends to come help you, because then guess what? You owe them a favor. Never mind, you're going to be spending a ton of money on beer and pizza, and stuff is going to get broken. It sucks. Call our friends GMET's Moving and Storage. They're going to be able to move you, especially in this marketplace, but they can actually ship your stuff around the world and move you with their crew of dedicated professionals anywhere in the United States. Go ahead and Google GMET's Moving and Storage, and they'll help you out today. Hey, welcome back to the Wealth Architect podcast. I'm Emilio Despirito. We've got a great guest with us today. We have Kyle Seyboth. Kyle has quite the resume in the real estate industry. Not only is he ranked the #1 agent according to the Wall Street Journal in, I think, 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
2019, okay. He ranked in Forbes lists. He ranked in several other lists as well, and just constantly a heavy hitter in the marketplace with 1 year over 1,000 real estate transactions, which is absolutely insane. He owns a real estate brokerage, Century 21, in the Rhode Island, Massachusetts marketplace, and owns a lot of other businesses. So I wanted to welcome Kyle on today to talk about wealth creation through the opportunities of real estate in a business that I find super interesting that he's starting, and it's called Any Tiny Homes. We're going to jump into that in a second. Kyle, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. As always, pleasure to be here, and great to talk to you. And hopefully, we add a lot of value to the folks that are watching and listening.
That's right. There's a lot of people, Kyle, and you're welcome. Thanks for being here. There's a lot of people that aspire to do great things, and it takes a lot of grit to do that. Before we get into your new business model, because I think it's fascinating, can you tell us a little bit about what drives you to sell 1,000 homes in a year? Most realtors sell 2.
I think a lot of it comes from competitive athletic background. I think that's where it started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you have to have some sort of competitive juice inside of you to even aspire to do anything close to those type of numbers. More importantly, it's if you have that background and you have that kind of mentality where you want to be the best at whatever you do, whether it's cooking or cleaning or whatever, selling houses or financial services, whatever, you start to become obsessed with the process and obsessed with the journey, and then the results kind of just take over from there. And I think that's where it came from. And I think that's where it came from. And that's what's evolved into other things over time, right? So started out as an individual agent and then progressed into other ventures throughout real estate as time went on.
That's awesome. And do you also own properties as well?
Yes, I do. So, I've owned a bunch of multifamily properties for the past 10 to 12 years and continue to buy. And I think the nice thing about what I've started to see is I'm in a transition period where I've sold some of the stuff that I bought early on, and I'm now transitioning into bigger properties. So right now on the development side, I think we have 6 20+ unit developments going at once.
Wow. You're building these.
Building them. So they're either retrofitting of older buildings. We're doing a school, a church, an office building, or they're ground up construction. And I think what I've learned there, and to anyone that's listening and watching, you have to make sure you're ready for that next step, because a $5,000 or $10,000 mistake on a 3-family is a $50,000 or $100,000 mistake on a big development. And I think what I've learned from doing these things is that, you have to really be cautious, and you have to have enough cash. If you don't have the cash, it'll strangle you and you can't finish.
Wow, that's huge. So you're building some pretty big projects. What got you into the development arm of stuff? I mean, you're selling 1,000 houses a year. How do you jump into development while doing that?
So what I started to look at is I said, okay, 2 and 3 families are becoming too expensive. Wealth creation, which your podcast is all about, is about building generational wealth. and you can either buy a ton of 2 and 3 families and keep dealing with, small little headaches in singular buildings, or you can say, let me consolidate this, let me sell a bunch of these smaller ones, aggregate into some bigger stuff, and then from there, have this nice portfolio down the road that my kids and their kids and our kids can all kind of pass down. So I just said at some point you've got to be the one to make that transition, and I felt like at this stage of my life I'm ready to make it. Now it's not easy.
No.
The first one that we're doing right now is 30 units in Central Falls. Unfortunately, I have a partnership in that's not very great, to keep it as candid as I can. But what I've learned from that one project will help me so much on the next 5 that I'm working on. So you gotta live and learn and trial and tribulations.
I love what you said right there, and there's a lot of power in that. It's fail forward, right? You're gonna fall on your face anytime you try something new. You're gonna fall down, but you got to get back up, and it's what you learned and how you don't do something again, right? Like Thomas Edison with the light bulb. Not to beat this one like a dead horse, but I think he said he found 9,999 ways not to create a light bulb.
Right.
Which, right? It's awesome.
But I think one thing that you guys have to understand is everything you watch on Instagram and Facebook and all
the highlight reel,
the highlight reels. Like throw the highlight reels out the window, because that's not reality. Like there's so many days and weeks and months when you're doing projects and you're flipping and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're running a brokerage and you have 2 startups going and you have your own sales going, where you say sometimes like, I don't know how I'm getting out of this. Like, I don't know what the answer is right now, nor do I know how I'm going to make this work. And I think that's the part a lot of people fail to see is they see the good, but they don't understand the bad.
They don't see the sleepless nights.
They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the, oh, wow, I've got to come up with X amount of money in the next week. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And I think the part that a lot of people also don't realize is you, as well as myself and a bunch of other people that are looking to grow, we don't technically have to do this, but we do it because we want to be better. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like I could stop now and just be a single individual agent and probably be in a way better financial position in the short term than I would be in the long term. But part of me says, if I do that, did I really live up to my full potential? And if I don't live up to my full potential, will my biggest struggle be down the road regret? And I don't want that either. So it's a tough toss up.
When you say your full potential, I feel like you're talking kind of about the brokerage and kind of like, I like to say, pouring my cup out into others. Is that what you're talking about?
I think full potential, when I look at it, is more of like, I have so many possibilities and opportunities that I can come to fruition that if I just stay stagnant, I didn't, whether you believe in God or the universe, I didn't put my full effort forward, and I can't live like that.
Yeah.
So
got it.
Somewhat to your point, but a little bit more on the side of like, if you're going to do it, go with your all.
You started a business called Any Tiny Homes. Okay. First off, like they're also called granny pads, like the granny pads or ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units. Can you talk about like what that type of housing is and why that type of housing, why it's needed?
So first of all, I actually love the business. If I looked at everything that I do right now and I was able to kind of consolidate it to the things that I like the most, for me, this one I'm probably the most passionate of right now in my career. And the reason I say that is because it really checks a lot of boxes for where we are now as a society and where we're going in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years.
Explain. What do you mean?
And what I mean by that is, number one, affordability is becoming very difficult for younger folks and older folks. So when you look at a barbell strategy and you say you've got the younger generations and the older generations and they need housing and affordability is the biggest factor, an ADU or a tiny home or a standalone on the same property is the easiest, most inexpensive way. And then I look at and I say, here in New England, where specifically in our bigger cities, you have all this density and you don't have enough housing for the amount of population that you have. You need to do something to create it, yet you don't have enough land to go ahead and just put all these new developments up. So what is the solution? The solution is to get more out of less, right? And you get more out of what you already have out there. So when I think of the ADU space and I think of what we're putting together, the demand is immense. The supply is there. We're not like we're going out trying to sell people on something they don't already have. If they have a garage, it's a very easy conversion into another ADU where they can put their in-laws, or they could put their kids, or they can put a tenant to bring in supplemental income. So for me, the ADU space and, any tiny homes, we started in December of 23. We ran all through 24. I think we did 3 in 24, but in 25 we've already signed up, I think, like 18.
Wow.
So we've had a really good. I mean, I knew I feel like we'll be 5 a month next year.
Wow.
Pretty easily.
What do they go for?
They range everywhere from 80,000 to 200,000.
That 200,000 must be beefed up. That must.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, we just finished one in Warwick. We did a loft for this woman in her garage, and it was absolutely. We had the speaker of the house there. It was absolutely amazing.
Joe Shikarchi.
Yep, Joe was
Great
there.
guy.
It was phenomenal work, and the family couldn't have been happier.
Wow. An ADU is auxiliary dwelling unit, and that's a big term you're going to hear more and more about in densely populated marketplaces across the country. And as we're short housing, people like Kyle are coming in and solving this problem with companies like Any Tiny Home. So is it a standalone structure that you're building and putting somewhere, or are you taking and like renovating garage spaces? And is that
so we do both. The majority of what we've signed year to date, I would say 80% are garage renovations, where we're taking a 1 stall or a 2 stall garage and we're making it either a loft or a 1 bedroom. The tiny home standalone, you need a little more land sometimes for that. So that's not as prevalent in some of those cities that are more tightly kind of packed in. But we're seeing, again, out of the 18 or 20 we've signed, I think we have 5 in construction right now. And we're going on 2 or 3 appointments a day at a minimum of people that want these ADUs. So it's been really good. And I think if I were to look at a baseball game, from inning 1 to inning 9, I'd say we're in the top of the first.
That's amazing. So how does somebody, if they want to buy one of these or they want to build one of these, how are they getting the financing for it? What type? Because you can't go traditional home financing.
Nope. So a lot of times they'll pull a HELOC on their house.
Oh,
they'll
okay.
take that HELOC and they'll
Home
go
line of
ahead and
equity.
home equity line of credit, or they'll get an actual home equity loan. They'll utilize that. Or we have some in-house financing options that we're working on with some lenders across the country that are giving seconds on primary residences. And then finally, a lot of people are just cash. Like, think about the family home, right? So let's just we're in East Greenwich right now. Let's use East Greenwich for an example. I'm 60 years old. My kids have obviously not in the house anymore, but my son is 35. They want to get into the school system. They've got 2 little kids. I say, hey, son, you can move into the main house. Let me build the garage out. I can live there half the time and move to Florida the other half of the time. So now we're able to get 2 families in places, and then we're able to do it at a much lower cost. So the affordability for the son to get in the system and the community they want to be in is possible. And then for the parents, for them to have somewhere to live, that's not like living in a basement, an actual unit is doable too.
And legislation all around the country is changing where you don't need special use permits or variances in different areas in order to put an ADU, right?
Right. And I think that's the biggest hurdle, though. Even though it's changing and has changed, it still hasn't been adopted by all the communities and all the towns favorably. And what I mean by that is some of the towns and cities can still appeal, the neighbors can still appeal, or they can still kind of fight on setbacks and some other stuff. But at some point very soon, that will not be there anymore, and you'll be able to push forward. So that's where we see things going here locally in Rhode Island and Mass. And I think you'll see that kind of take stride across the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. The company is Any Tiny Homes. You can go ahead and Google them, check them out. We're eventually going to put a link up on the Wealth Architect, but that's good stuff. Kyle, you are running several companies. I would probably say 12, 2 dozen. I can't even keep track of you.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Yeah, you do. You do. So what is it? Give us, as far as wealth creation goes, okay, give us your best advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think my best advice is to jump. And what I mean by jump is to not get paralyzed by analyzing things way too much, to not get scared of taking a chance. There were two things recently that kind of hit me a little bit, and it was like, That's pretty good perspective. One was, there was this guy, he sold his company, either Minecraft, Minesweep, Mine something or other. Did you see this article?
Minecraft, yeah.
So he sold it for like $2 billion. And
Microsoft.
then X time later, he committed suicide because he had no purpose.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, your goal is to get to a point to get something that's sellable that you can actually sell out of. But the ultimate goal is to have a purpose. So make sure whatever you're doing and you have a purpose every day, and you're getting up every day with an actual goal that you're trying to reach. And then at the end of the day, if you take that jump and that leap of faith and you just keep working hard, you really don't quit until you die. And I think at the end of the day, it's not like I'm going to retire next year. So whatever you're doing right now may take time. You just got to try to get better every day.
That's right. And you said you had another one. You said you had two stories.
I forgot the second one.
Is it?
I like the
That's all
first
right.
one so good.
That was fantastic.
The first one was
though.
so good.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is really, though, looking at, like, I used to always be like, I'm in a rush to get to X. Like, my goal is to have free cash flow of this, or my goal is to have passive income of this, or have this much saved in the bank. And again, when you think about it, like, if you're not going to retire tomorrow, just keep going. Just keep pushing.
It's fun.
It is. And I think sometimes we lose that fun, though. I think I've caught myself, I've been in a little bit of a rut for a month or so where the fun it's become more aggravation. And sometimes you forget, like, why you're doing it. And you're like, all right, this isn't, like, what's going on right now?
I get there, too.
This is, like, crazy to me. This is not worth it to me. And I think if you can get out of that, snap out of that, and snap back into this is fun and the alternative is worse, then let's keep pushing.
Well, and you need downtime, though, especially a guy like you. You're moving a million miles an hour.
Correct.
Do you have any downtime?
I was doing really well with it.
The answer is no.
I was doing really well with it the last few years, and I would say this last 12 months has been no, because I kind of refocused. We started really paying attention to cash flow. We started really paying attention to every dollar in, every dollar out. And we're hyper focused on profitability within the business. And I think when you do that, your focus level and your attentiveness and your ability to take time off goes away, while the other things goes much higher. I've already accepted that this 12 months was going to be a grind. And I said, I've got a goal for that 12-month period, and I'm going to get there. And not only will I get there, it'll be worth the grind. And then next year we can reassess.
That's awesome. Good stuff. And if you want to follow Kyle, he is everywhere, all over social media. You can go ahead and follow him on Instagram. We're going to tag him on the Instagram post. But Kyle Seyboth of, I don't even want to say Century 21 because you got so many other companies, but
Fine,
Century
you can say
21 Limitless and several other companies, Any Tiny Homes. Good stuff, Kyle. Thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Great
Thank
advice.
you, guys. Appreciate it.
Do you own a European or a Japanese car? Are you looking for a reliable, trustworthy, experienced place to take your car to get repaired? Look no further than our friends over at Elite Auto. They're not only going to welcome you with a smile into their ultra clean facility, they're also going to give you a rental and make sure that you are taken care of while your car is being repaired. They've got master technicians that know how to diagnose and fix any problem your car has. Elite Auto, building relationships for the road ahead. I got to tell you, I had a blast today. We had some amazing guests here. And, if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you need to check it out. We are the Wealth Architect Podcast with Emilio Despirito. And make sure you follow us on Instagram so you can stay engaged with all of the latest content and you can grow and build your wealth. Let's do it together. We'll be back here next week on SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Instagram. All of the major platforms. We're there. We'll see you then.